as the Philippines' last frontier, Palawan is one of the most biodiverse regions on Earth. Rich in flora and fauna, it also has an abundance of valuable mineral resources. But with mining companies eyeing these resources, there is great tension in this island paradise. Some natives welcome them as a step towards wealth and development, while others fear there is a dark side, one that damages the environment and destroys lives. I'm CHOU. In this edition of 101 East, we ask how the Philippines can protect its last frontier. Nickel mines, cut into the hills of Palawan Island in the Philippines, have split the indigenous tribes who live off the land.
From the start of exploration, the mining company gives out scholarships for college and high school. They also give out medical aid to the indigenous people and the poor.
We don't want mining. What's the use of money if there's nothing to it? When our rice fields are destroyed, even with mining, we'll have nothing to eat. We'll die.
Palawan is 500 kilometers long, and they're at the bottom side of the island. The southern portion of Palawan are the mineralized zones for nickel. There should be no conflict between mining and agriculture in Palawan.
Palawan is a narrow island. It has steep gradient, the topsoil is thin, and therefore it is vulnerable to erosion. Will we be able to make sure that the life support systems in the province of Palawan will still be maintained if we allow mining in our forests?
The Philippines is one of China's main sources of nickel. Nickel mining is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Tough and corrosion-resistant, the metal is used in an endless list of everyday products. Computers, construction, mobile phones, stainless steel, car parts. In Palawan, the conflict over nickel mines is riddled by subplots of corruption and crime, and recently, murder.
Kung ano ang ginawa natin sa kalikasan, yan ang ibabalik sa atin na ganti ng kalikasan. Mayroon pong karma galing sa kalikasan. Sa mga taga-PCSD, gumising na po kayo. Huwag niyo pong pabayaang malubog at mawasak ang kalikasan ng Palawan. Ako po ang inyong lingkod, Dr. Jerry Ortega.
This was one of the last broadcasts of journalist Jerry Ortega before he was shot dead in January last year. Also an environmental activist, Ortega was a fierce critic of former Palawan Governor Joel REYES, who headed the Palawan Council for Sustainable Development. PCSD, as it's known, issued permits for small-scale nickel mines in the province. Ortega was shot in the head in a clothing store. Street CCTV cameras captured the gunman fleeing. Firemen passing by gave chase and nabbed him.
And all of a sudden, a person from outside just ran to me and said that your husband was gunned down. But I was hoping in my mind that he's okay and that it's only a minor injury. So I ran towards that store, which is a few meters away from our clinic. And when I saw him, he was lying down and he lifeless. I knew that he's already dead.
The gunman, Marlon Rakamata, identified his accomplices. One of them turned witness and testified that ex-Governor Joel REYES masterminded the plot. The gun ownership was traced to a former employee of REYES. Investigations revealed REYES exchanged 41 text messages with the accomplice around the time of the killing, 16 on the day itself. REYES denies any involvement. His supporters say political rivals framed him.
I am outraged at the way my name has been deliberately dragged into the assassination of Dr. Jerry Ortega last January 24.
Prosecutors are still assessing if there is probable cause to take him to court.
The longer it takes, the dimmer it seems to be that we will finally have justice. What kept me going was first of my belief that there is a God and that we have a purpose in life. And my children, of course, I need to be strong for them and to continue with what Jerry has started in his advocacies.
Jerry Ortega was one of many activists advocating a complete mining ban in Palawan. They convinced local authorities to suspend small-scale mines in 2008 following their poor environmental practices. Such mines are not allowed to use heavy machinery or exceed 50,000 tons a year in production. But 3 large-scale nickel mines continue to operate under more stringent permits from the national government. These permits require detailed exploration and forest rehabilitation plans. The Mines and Geosciences Bureau of the governing body explains the difference.
In large-scale mining, while you are mining, you are required to do progressive rehabilitation. While you extract, you plant. While you extract, you stabilize. So that by the end that you are through, you have already done most of the rehabilitation. You don't have that in small-scale mining. It is the provincial governor who should enforce the small-scale mining law. But the problem is we have about 82 provinces, meaning you have 82 ways of implementing the small-scale mining law.
In the southern Palawan town of NARRA, farmers accuse mine companies of polluting their rice fields with mine tailings. The difference between small and large-scale mining means little to them. At least one company here, NARRA Nickel, has carried out large-scale mining with an easily obtained small-scale permit. When authorities suspended small-scale mining in Palawan, NARRA Nickel applied for a large-scale permit. Now, we're not allowed to film the siltation plant of the mine, but the locals here, with their knowledge of the land, has taken us deep into the forest around the perimeter fence so that we can access a vantage point to see what it looks like. Siltation plants filter mine-polluted water before releasing it into the environment. Despite suspended operations, the farmers say they continue to reap what NARRA Nickel has sown. They claim its siltation plant is ineffective and pollutes streams that irrigate their rice fields. The streams contain reddish-brown soil known as laterite, rich in iron and other metals. The contaminated rice darkens whenever heavy rainfall floods the fields.
This is what we produce when laterite flows into our rice fields. It's flooded 5 times since March last year. We're sure this is caused by laterite. Who's going to buy this? I don't know what's going to happen to us, eating rice that was soaked in laterite.
When they applied for mining in our village, they called for a consultation to explain how we can benefit in many ways. They promised livelihood projects, scholarships, jobs, even safety measures, so there will be no laterite flowing into our rice fields. But they did not keep their promises.
My land was fertile for rice planting. I used to harvest 100% of the land. When the mine started operating, it went down to 40%. Before there was mining, we used 4 bags of fertilizer per hectare for planting rice. After mining, we need 10 bags. We're poor and we go hungry because of the laterite that pollutes our field.
Despite the complaints, NARRA Nickel has appealed against the government's decision to deny it a large-scale mining permit.
There is no basis for them to say, that we have not done any, responsible mining or we're not doing best practices. The mountains contain laterite. Whether there's mining or not, because of the natural weathering, because of erosion, because of rainfall, the laterite in the mountain is being brought down by water, to the lowlands, whether there's mining operation or not.
In response to a lawsuit by farmers against NARRA nickel, the regional judge in Palawan organized a site inspection during the last rainy season.
In November and December last year, we had a multi-party inspection team that went to the site. They found out that the series of check dams and siltation ponds are doing their function. No silt is overflowing to the farmlands.
But during that time, environmental expert Dr. Emelina Regis also collected soil samples from the same area for tests.
The level of chromium, nickel and iron far exceeds the maximum tolerable content in soil. Hence, these metals are toxic to plants and animals.
In an email to 101 East, she says the lab report reveals excessive levels of chromium, nickel and iron in the soil.
Chronic exposure to hexavalent chromium can result in fatigue, gastrointestinal distress, anemia.
Chromium levels reached nearly 8 times more than the maximum tolerable amount that occurs naturally, and for nickel, more than 50 times.
Damage to lung, kidney, liver, skin and immune system. Skin lesions which can develop into skin cancer, lung cancer.
Dr. Regis warned that toxic levels of the two metals puts humans at risk of cancer and stunts the growth of plants. The mining industry maintains that it is only interested in mining southern Palawan, which is unsuitable for agriculture.
Mines are really valuable. The high nickel and the high iron content of the soil prevents the soil from being fertile. The priority should be given to giving more value to the economy.
But for agriculture, it also means food security for the poor.
That's correct, but there should be no conflict between agriculture and mining, because the footprint of mining is so small. We have here about 17 large-scale mines.
The Philippines Chamber of Mines is a lobby group for large-scale mining companies. Such mines take up 0.14% of the land mass in Palawan. There are more than 1,000 mining applications in the province, but Chairman ARTEMIO DISINI says most prospects do not materialize after initial exploration.
So I'd say 1 out of 3,000 hectares will develop into a mine. The red are the applications that were filed for mining. The picture on the right shows the 3 operating mines in Palawan. And you will see there that they're very small dots compared to the whole of Palawan.
But the pending entry of a 4th large-scale mining company, MAYO-Asia, has stirred up further dispute. The Mount Mantalingahan protected landscape is a key biodiversity area, home to many indigenous tribes. It stretches over 120,000 hectares in the south. Backed by Chinese investors, MAYO-Asia plans to mine 1,000 hectares at the edge of the area for nickel. It's too close for comfort for environmental activists.
A part of that will be in the buffer zone, the edge of the protected area, and a portion inside the protected area. Now, in the first place, why would you put in peril a protected area?
GRIZELDA MAYO-ANDA argues that mining supporters should factor in the economic value of biodiversity. She cites a recent study by NGO Conservation International.
They actually articulated that if we maintain Mount Mantalingahan for its beauty, biodiversity, water, non-timber forest products, we will get more than 130 billion pesos. For Palawan, you can just imagine if you do not give value to the resources found in the area. Once biodiversity is lost, it cannot be restored.
We travel deep into the disputed part of Mount Mantalingahan. Now a secondary forest, it was heavily logged before Palawan banned logging in 1992. The forest clears to reveal an old nickel mine that operated here for 2 years in the 1970s. Vegetation remains sparse, but MAYO-Asia's Vice President for Mining, Ramon Santos, says his company can change that.
So if we will mine this area, we are required and we are very much willing to rehabilitate this area. If we will just leave it alone, trees will not grow. The planting style will be based on scientific methods. There will be enough spacing. As you would see, the natural growth here are too dense. That's why the trees compete with whatever water and minerals there are on the topsoil. We will put in environmental structures that would capture water that's contaminated with silt, and clear water would flow. So in that sense, the farmers would benefit from better quality of water going to their farms.
Santos says most of the affected indigenous community welcome mining. MAYO-ANDA has provided them jobs and development since it started exploration in 2010. That includes work in a nursery, growing local species for rehabilitating future mined areas.
I believe the indigenous people like us also want progress. They also want to improve their lives.
But how sustainable is it? After all, mining an area can at most last for, say, a few decades.
That's why in the design of our social development programs, we tend to focus more on projects that would have lasting benefits. One is education.
MAYO-ANDA invests in education for indigenous children. Its large-scale mine application is still going through the final stage of approval from the national governing body. The outcome is expected this year, but the company has already given out more than 100 scholarships for high school and college education.
My name is Mark Jeffrey Rodriguez. I study in Palawan State University in Brooks Point.
Mark Rodriguez is one of MAYO-ANDA's scholars. He studies business management.
Our parents no longer need to worry. The scholarship provides everything monthly, including our allowance and transport fare. I'm really happy to get the chance to go to school and complete my education. It was a big relief for my family when I got the scholarship from MAYO-ANDA. It's important for me to take my family out of poverty, to have a normal life, so they can be proud of me.
Mark's tribe of 150 families will be directly affected if MAYO-ANDA starts operations. Tribal chief CELSO PAIDA says most of his people want mining benefits, without which their way of life is unsustainable.
We survive by carrying out slash and burn agriculture in the mountains. We cut trees and burn them to clear land for rice and banana trees. We know about taking care of the trees and the environment, but we can't take care of our environment when we're poor. We, the people of the Palawan tribe, destroy our own environment because we're in need by cutting trees. We have no choice.
But not everyone welcomes MAYO-ANDA.
Our ancestors did not instruct us to destroy the mountains and sell it after they are gone.
Nelson SOMBRA, tribal leader of 60 families, insists mining companies have no right to mine their ancestral land. He says he earns enough as a farmer to feed his children and send them to school.
For some, it may be easy to accept scholarships from mining companies. For us, it's a burden. They won't send our kids to school for nothing. In exchange, we lose the land we own and our culture. When they drilled their test pits, they continued even when our crops were in the way. That's very disrespectful. They should have told us to harvest first before they drill. They just keep drilling.
The mining industry says TUBA, Palawan's oldest mine, shows how it benefits locals in the long run. It is run by Nickel Asia, which is partly owned by a Japanese company. TUBA started operations in 1977 and has faced complaints of environmental pollution. But today, many locals support it for developing the once sleepy town of Bataraza.
At that time, there were only about 10 houses there. Now it's a bustling community of about 15,000 population, complete with all the infrastructures where the employees are living. We have a school from nursery up to high school. We even have a primary hospital, which is now being elevated to secondary. These are for free.
Generations of locals have enjoyed the benefits. One of them, ROMELO GRASPILLA, manages the Rio Tuba TOWNSITE facilities for staff.
My father was a fisherman in NARRA, Palawan. My mother is a public school teacher. My parents came from poor family. That's why they decided to came here so that they can earn a higher pay. My father started work as driver. My mother teaches here at the school. All of my children will be graduated from college. It's because 3 of them have a scholarship from the company.
GRASPILLA knows mining doesn't last forever, but he isn't worried.
Life after mining, maybe we have good life because we have savings, retirement, and all our children will be in good standing also because they will be professionals. I want mining to exist because mining can help like me to become successful in life.
To date, Rio Tuba has mined 600 hectares and replanted nearly half of it. Rehabilitation stepped up in 2008 using organic fertilizers and scientific methods on land that was unsuitable for farming. The signs are encouraging.
Here in this pilot area, this is only about less than 36 months. And we started observing the wildlife populations. I realized so much on the indigenous knowledge systems these people have, where to locate the seed sources, the planting materials. They're from this place, so they know where to go.
Despite this, Rio Tuba faces resistance to its plan to mine another 200 hectares in the area.
I'd like to believe, whether they accept it or not, it's the vigilance of civil society and the communities, the pressure, that they have put in the last few years that has compelled these mining companies to comply with the law. Whether it's residual forest or old-growth forest, they are still natural forest. And according to our basic policy, all natural forests are supposed to be areas of maximum protection. There are a lot of legal and policy gaps that need to be addressed.
We're not giving in to what
Current Palawan Governor Abraham Mitra says his hands are tied.
How can we stop the current operation when it's the national government that issues these mining permits? The non-government organizations, they are part of the monitoring team. So if they say that we or previous administration not done our work, then they're part of that team that's supposed to monitor and regulate this.
Is there a way forward to reach a middle ground?
Well, I thought that our policy of no new mining in Palawan would be good enough. But it seems it's not good enough for them.
It wasn't good enough for Jerry Ortega. His daughter Mika has joined the fight for a complete mining ban.
I mean, I understand that a lot of these mining concessions are legal, so to speak, but I mean, you have to always consider the ill effects of it. The fact that ill effects are there, you shouldn't even be weighing pros and cons.
Palawan is the country's last ecological frontier, so it is the Philippines' last bastion of biodiversity. We have 40% of the country's mangrove area, about a half of the remaining old-growth forest, and we have 30% of the coral reefs, and we have 17 of the key biodiversity areas.
Anti-mining groups face an uphill battle. Many indigenous people deprived of basic services welcome mining in return for jobs and development. Rio Tuba's rehabilitation efforts show the potential of returning biodiversity to mined areas, but it requires heavy investment and strict environmental laws. In a province with a history of poor law enforcement, the Philippines must break new ground to protect its last frontier.